Hey guys, it's Brandy, and before I get into this video, it is a very controversial topic. The last time I made a controversial video, the people that didn't agree with me all decided to comment their thoughts on how I'm a moronic, dumb bitch. I just want to let you guys know that this is my view on it. If you do not agree with me, you do not have to agree with me. Simple as that. This video is about Brock Turner. Most of you guys might have heard about him and some of you may have not. If you want to know, this will be his picture and it will stay right here the entire video just so you know who I'm talking about. And sorry, I couldn't find his swimming picture, so I just went ahead and used his mugshot because, you know, he's an accused rapist, so I think we should be using his mugshot anyway, so whatever. Brock Turner is this 20-year-old freshman in college, or he was a freshman in college at the time. He is accused of raping said victim. He was sentenced 6 months out of the possible 14 years he was able to get. That blew my fucking mind, especially after reading in depth about this whole story and reading the victim's letter, reading his letter, and reading just like all the shit that was going on in it. Throughout this video I will read parts of his dad's letter and Brock's letter, and then I want to go in depth on what I think of those letters. One of Brock's lawyers said anything over 6 months would be detrimental to Brock. It will have an impact on Brock. Yeah, well, you know, people who do bad things go to prison, and yeah, it might have a negative effect on them, but didn't Brock have a negative effect on his victim? So this whole thing happened at a frat party. Well, not the whole raping thing, but Brock said him and said victim met at a frat party. They danced, they kissed, therefore she liked it. As somebody who is a college student, and as somebody who has gone to a frat party before, and as somebody who's, you know, kissed a boy that, you know, I may not have known anything about, I never once was like, just because I'm kissing him, he's allowed to fuck me. You know what I mean? They're drinking, fast forward time, two people on bikes are riding by and they see Brock on top of her, raping her, and then they're like, hey, what the fuck are you doing type thing, and his ass books it, and then they tackle him, they call the police. All I'm saying is, if you were innocent, then why were you running? Because of the alcohol, Brandy. He was drunk. It's fine because he was drunk. He was like, we were both drunk, like things happen. I wasn't in the right mind, she wasn't in the right mind. Bitch, she was passed out cold. She didn't wake up like for hours after she got to the hospital. But she consented, right? There's no way we were able to tell when she passed out. I mean, she could have passed out like right before you guys hooked up, but the thing is like that either way that's weird. Why would you want to be intimate with somebody who was passed out drunk or that drunk? You know what I'm saying? That like either way, Brock, it's fucking weird. So now that I touched on the overview of what happened, I'm going to read you Brock's dad's letter. As it stands now, Brock's life has been deeply altered forever by the events of January 17th and 18th of 2015. He will never be his happy-go-lucky self with his easygoing personality and welcoming smile. Poor Brock. His every waking minute is consumed with worry, anxiety, fear, and depression. That's so sad, Brock. I feel for you. His lack of appetite. This is the part that kind of makes me like, what the fuck does this have to do with anything? Brock always enjoys certain types of food and is a very good cook himself. And I always was so excited to buy him a big ribeye steak to grill or to get his favorite snack for him. I had to make sure to hide some of my favorite pretzels or chips because I knew that they wouldn't be around long after Brock walked in from a long swim practice. Well, Brock, you had a big appetite. Good for you. So sad that you don't have that appetite anymore after you rape somebody. Now, he barely consumes any food and only eats to exist. This is a deep price to pay for 20 minutes of action out of his 20 years of life. The fact that he now has to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life alters where he can live, visit, work, and how he'll be able to interact with people and organizations. What I know as his father is that incarceration is not the appropriate punishment for Brock. He has no prior criminal history and has never been violent to anyone, including his actions on the night of January 17th, 2015. Pause. Bitch, he raped somebody. Continue, Brandy. Brock can do so many things as a contributor to society and is totally committed to educating other college-age students about the dangers of alcohol consumption and sexual promiscuity. People like Brock educating others on college campuses is how society can break the cycle of binge drinking and its unfortunate results. Brock, his dad, his friend who wrote a letter, and anyone else who is sticking up for him keeps blaming the alcohol. I would just like to note that alcohol may impair your mind, or it does a good amount of times, but it doesn't necessarily make you automatically be like, I'm gonna rape this unconscious girl. So either way, somewhere deep down in his mind, Brock was this person. When I used to drink, when I first got into college, I was the type to be very honest. I would say everything that was on my mind, but not once was I like, I'm gonna fucking assault somebody. It's just not normal to rape somebody, and it should not be an excuse, alcohol or not. And then Brock's dad finishes the letter by saying, probation is the best answer for Brock in this situation and allows him to give back to society in a net positive way. Very respectfully, Dan A. Turner. Hey Dan, you're a fucking idiot. If I have a child one day, yes, I know, I don't have a kid, I would never know. I would jump in front of a bullet for my child. Yes, I would. But my future child, hi, if you're watching this, mommy would definitely take a bullet for you. I will do anything for you if I know you are in the right. But if you're in this situation, like, there's no way I could possibly in the right mind be like, no, he didn't rape her. This is a big misunderstanding. I would say I love him. He was a good kid, and he got into some trouble, and now he needs to face his fucking consequences. But I mean, if you disagree, go ahead and let me know, because I'm sure some of you are like, you don't have a child, you are 20 years old, so fuck you, shut up, okay? That's fine. As somebody who is Brock's age, I could honestly say this is not okay. This is not something normal 20-year-olds do. And now I'm going to read Brock's letter. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to read the points that I will link it below, but these are the main things that stood out to me. The night of January 17th changed my life and lives of everyone involved forever. I can never go back to being the person I was before that day. I am no longer a swimmer, a student, or a resident of California. Thank God. Thank fucking God. California doesn't want your ass. Bye. Or the product of work that I put in to accomplish the goals that I set out in the first 19 years of my life. I am the sole proprietor of what happened on that night, and these people's lives were changed forever. So when I first started reading this, I was like, okay, maybe he's gonna be like, I am sorry for what I did, I'm sorry I raped you, I'm sorry this, I'm sorry that, but that's not really where this went. He goes on to say, like, I'm sorry for, like, I guess I'm fucking up your life, but look at me too, like, my whole life is fucked up too. That's basically what he's saying. And he said, I wish I had the ability to go back in time and never pick up a drink that night, let alone reenact with the victim. I can barely hold a conversation with someone without having my mind drift to thinking these thoughts. Congratulations, you remember how you were raping somebody, but she doesn't. She doesn't remember anything, and that's so terrible for her. Some will say at least she didn't remember it, but that's not the point. He goes on to say how he wakes up having nightmares about this. He can't talk to anybody without thinking of it. He is broken forever. He's a changed person. And he never wants to drink alcohol again. Because alcohol makes you rape people, apparently. And then he goes on to say, all I can do from these events moving forward is proving to everyone who I know who I really am as a person. I know that if I were to be placed on probation, I would be able to be a benefit to society for the rest of my life. Let me just talk about this for a second. Let's say I was at a university and they were like, we're having a discussion today on binge drinking and why you shouldn't do it, and we're going to have Brock Turner talk about it. First of all, I would not want to go to that. I don't want to hear a rapist talk about how he binge drank and then decided to assault somebody. That's not That's not something that's okay. And I feel like Brock is blaming this entire thing on alcohol. Maybe him being completely sober, he wouldn't have raped somebody, but the fact that he did is he did. He, like, there's nothing else to it. He fucking did. Whether he was drunk, or whether he was high, or whether he was impaired in some other way, he still raped somebody. And I feel like so many people are missing that point. Yeah, he drank a lot. A lot of people drink. I know a lot of people that drink on like a weekly basis. Every weekend they're getting fucking lit and turned. But they don't go and rape somebody, or they don't go out being like, I want to get raped. When you sign up for college, nowhere are you signing up for getting assaulted. Nowhere. And so oftentimes in college campuses, this does happen. Whether the students were drinking or not, a lot of times people get sexually assaulted. And it's, I guess, now a norm because of that. Just because you're in college does not mean it's okay for you to get raped or rape somebody. I feel like it's not fair for people to fear going to college and thinking there's a possibility that I can get raped. It said, I read somewhere saying that at Stanford there's so many rapes that go on, and so many of them go under the radar, because I'm sure a lot of people go to the dean or go to whoever and they tell them, and they either buy their silence or they threaten them in some way, and that's just something that happens and is not okay, and it needs to be taken more seriously. And this isn't just going for girls, because I'm sure a decent amount of guys get attacked in some way, shape, or form, whether it be sexual or violent or whatever. You know, this is for both genders. It's not fair. It's back to Brock's letter though, because this is so touching, Brock, how you are so sympathetic towards your victim. I know I can show people who were like me the dangers of assuming what college life can be without thinking about the consequences one would potentially have to make if one were able to make the same decisions that I make. First of all, just because you drink doesn't mean you rape. Just because you party doesn't mean you rape. Just because you're going to college and you want to live a fucking lit-ass life doesn't mean you rape or want to get raped. And this entire thing, he just talks about how he loved to party and he drank too much that night, and that's why what happened. He's trying to justify his actions by saying, if I didn't drink, I wouldn't have raped. Pretty much. He never once mentioned how he attacked her. He never once apologized for what happened, other than, I'm sorry for drinking too much. And I think that he is the biggest piece of shit because of this. Even the victim said in her letter, if he at least apologized, came forward and was like, I'm sorry for doing what I did to you, and I'm sorry, she would have been okay with, not okay, but she would have been like more understanding on why his sentencing was so small. But he decided to hire lawyers because he's this rich kid who's a great swimmer, so he has potential in life. And he took it to trial, and a year later he's let off easy. This just shows so oftentimes the rapist's life is taken more into consideration than the victim's. Yes, he was this amazing swimmer, as they all want to quote. They want to use his good pictures or whatever, and they, not this picture, but then they want to go and dig in this girl's background and be like, oh, but she did this, and this in her past, so she probably deserved it. Maybe she partied a lot. It doesn't matter what type of person she was. No matter what, she doesn't deserve this. Nobody deserves to be raped. She got something taken from her that night. She got integrity taken from her that night. She got her pride taken from her that night by somebody she doesn't even know. And so often I think people perceive rapists to be criminals, and people who think, oh, I'm gonna plot to rape somebody tonight, I'm gonna steal them, I'm gonna rape them, I'm gonna knock them out, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. No, a lot of times rape comes from people just like this situation. It doesn't always have to be a criminal doing it. It could be Brock, like they stated, had nothing prior to his rape, but that's just like if I go and shoot somebody and say, you know what, my record is clean, I need to get off minimum sentencing because I never did anything else that was bad in my life. For Brock, his life is ruined because of this, but what about his poor victim? Just because he lost his swim scholarship and is a known sex offender now, that's what he fucking deserves. That's what he did. He did this to himself. She, on the other hand, just went out that night. She didn't do anything wrong and he did, so he needs to suffer the consequences for it. And he's trying to be like, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna be like the best person ever. I'm gonna go to events and talk about it. Like, no one's gonna fucking want you. You are probably more hated than you were before, because if he at least came up and was like, I did it, I'm sorry, let me take what I need to do to correct the situation, even though, like, as much correcting that you could possibly do for a situation like this, he decided to be a fucking dick about it and be like, no, I'm not a bad person. Yes, you fucking are. So you could wake up a good person and go to bed a really fucking shitty person, and that's just what you did, Brock. A lot of people are saying this is white privilege, the reason why he got such a small sentencing, and I think that has something to do with it, but I also think it has to do with him being an athlete. He's rich. He had no prior offenses. It's just all these things that build up that help him when it shouldn't. It shouldn't matter how much money he has. It shouldn't matter if he had no prior offenses. It shouldn't matter if he was a fucking great ass athlete. Who cares? Like, yeah, maybe you treated your ex-girlfriend like a fucking princess, but you treated this poor girl like she was literal trash. She was passed out and you were inside her. What Brock's people were saying to, like, defend him were, you know, he was the only one conscious. She was knocked out, so she's not liable. Like, shouldn't that say enough though? She was knocked out and he was on top of her, like, doing shit to her. That's just, there's so many things of this, like, whole situation that just like, it's sad. They are making the rapist the victim is what they are doing, and that happens a lot of times, and it's sad. And they're making the victim seem like she's a fucking idiot and like she wanted it because she drank too much. She drank too much, she passed out. He drank too much, he raped somebody. There's a big difference, you know, but it's fine that he raped somebody just because alcohol was involved. So I guess that's what this whole message is you rape somebody but blame alcohol and you'll get off with minimum sentencing, you know. So to Brock, I think it's fucking great that you're going through a hard time. I hope prison is terrible for you. I hope those 6 months are living hell. I hope they reconsider. They bring this back to trial and they give you a longer sentencing, because boy, that's what you fucking need. You did something, serve the consequences. I hope you don't get out until you're 34. I hope you continue to have these nightmares and cannot talk to people and only eat to exist, because you are not a normal human being anymore. You are a rapist, and that is what you will be the rest of your life. And to the victim, it's not your fault, and I'm sorry this is happening to you. I hope he gets more of what he deserves, and I promise you he will not be going to any conventions or organizations to talk, because who the fuck wants a rapist to talk about justifying his rape, you know? Okay guys, so that was my take on it. Sorry this video was really long, and if any of you guys got to this point in the video, thank you for watching my video. Let me know your opinion on this. Do you think Brock's actions were justified? Do you think that he needs to go to jail longer? Do you think he needs a more severe punishment than just 6 months in prison? Do you think that 6 months in prison and 3 years on probation is not nearly enough, in my opinion? Like, he can say all he wants, I'm sorry for drinking too much, but it's, at the end of the day, he didn't even apologize for the actual rape. He just apologized for drinking too much. So fuck you, Brock. Whatever. Let me know your guys' opinion. I would like to know. Okay, bye.